This discussion is going to be about Git pre-commits and a Git pre-commit. Oh, sorry, I can't talk. It's going to be about Git pre-commit hooks and Git natively. And that's another requirement you need to have installed is Git, which I assume if you're using Python, you more than likely might have Git installed. So yeah, you do need Git. Git out of the box supports many different types of hooks. There's pre-commit hooks, there's commit hooks, and I believe there's several others. I think you can set up hooks for when you pull things and push things to different repos. But the one I'm going to talk about today is the Git pre-commit hook. And pretty much what that does is it will allow you, when you go to make a commit to your repo, you can have it run a bunch of different scripts or checks before committing. So some examples where that could come in handy is if you want your code to be automatically formatted when you're going to commit your changes. So that way when you commit your changes to your repo, they're always going to be formatted and clean. Some other examples are linting. So if you have a YAML file, for example, and you're going to commit that to your repo, it could check to make sure that the YAML format has valid syntax. Other examples, which we'll kind of focus on today, is the security aspects. So a very common mistake a lot of folks make is accidentally committing passwords and API keys and other secrets straight to the repo, and accidentally push them to maybe a public GitHub repo, for example. A pre-commit hook could check on that before that commit ever gets committed to your repo, and it can alert you, and it can block that commit. So those are some things I'll kind of go over today. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. So this is Git related, and Git primarily starts off as local on your machine, or local machine, but you can push it to some other origin, right? And so is this meant to be used with GitHub, or is it specifically GitHub or GitLab, or is it just Git by itself, or what?
It's Git by itself.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with the third-party Git repo you're going to send it to. So this could be local, and this could be used for remote. So I'll send. So I'm going to post a link over in the meetup text. There's a site called precommit.com, and it has a tool that you can install via pip, which is the Python package manager, that could help build a pre-commit hook for you. But one thing to note is that this tool isn't Python specific. So I think as of now, it supports being installed via pip. It can be installed via brew. There might be a binary for it, but it does support. I believe it's language agnostic. It just, as long as you have Git installed, it will work. So it can work with any language that's out there. But this site is pretty nice. It kind of goes over what we're going to go over today, and shows you how to set up pre-commit hooks. And then once I show you how to set that up, I'll go over some of the tools that we can use it with, and then kind of go a little bit beyond that in regards to security tools that can help you help write more secure code. But it's going to go kind of hand in hand. Could everybody see my VS Code terminal?
I got it.
Cool. So the first thing we'll do is we will open up the terminal. For those that are following along in Python, I do recommend setting up a virtual environment. Anytime you work in Python, you should set up a virtual environment for a project that you're working on. So for those that don't know how to do that, you can do Python -m, and then VNV space VNV. So what this will do is it will run the Python module VNV, which stands for virtual environment, and this is going to be the directory the virtual environment will be installed in. So if I already have this installed, so I'm not going to hit enter, but if you run this and hit enter, you'll get this little folder that gets created, and this will be your virtual Python environment. So whatever you install in this environment, it won't change any of the global system installed Python packages. So that's the benefits of using a virtual environment. So if you do run this command, can everybody see my screen, or is it small?
Yeah, I can see it.
Go a little bigger. Just
a little bit bigger.
Okay. Font.
Got a question for you there.
Yeah.
So you could use, I mean, this is like kind of the old school, right, way of doing it. Like you could use like poetry, right? That's another way to get your virtual environments, right?
You could use, there's 100 different ways to do it. This would be the easiest. Poetry is great, but it's a whole nother can of worms.
Okay.
So once you have installed the virtual environment, you have to activate it. So I'm unfortunately on Windows here for this example. So inside that directory, if you run that directory is that VNV directory, go to, should be under scripts if you're on Windows. If you're under Linux or Mac, it's going to be under the bin directory. But I'm on Windows, so I'm going to look for this. I'm going to do I believe I think you need the dot in front of it to, I'm mostly used to using this on Linux, but I believe you need on Windows, so you need the dot in front to source this, and then you run this activate.ps1 to activate the Python environment. Let's try this without the dot though. Okay, it did work. Okay, so all you have to do is you call this Python, this PowerShell script that's installed to your virtual environment by default. If you're on, like I said, if you're on Windows, or if you're on Linux, it will probably be VNV. Actually, you'll probably have to run dot to dot source it, VNV, then bin, and then activate. And I believe that will do it on Linux. That's or Mac. Anybody have any questions about that or confused?
So I went to do with that virtual environment, and do I have to pip that?
No, the command the Python mvnb vne like this.
A module.
The module should be installed by default. Is it not?
Not for me, no.
Try if that doesn't work. Try virtual env. Try that. So the module virtual env and then space env. And this is just the folder name, so it could be called whatever you want. If I wanted to call this, virtual env 1 2 3 4, and hit enter, you'll see I'll get this folder that created that virtual environment. So but did that work for you?
No, it didn't.
No?
Python doesn't like me.
Okay. Is pip installed? You could
be installed with Python.
Okay. Yeah, you could try doing a pip install virtual env, and try installing it that way. Actually, I'll just do that for this example. So you can try doing that, and then you can just run virtual env space vnv, and it should technically do the same thing.
Oh no, I just broke it. Okay, no. Yeah, I just had to pip install.
Okay, so try doing that, and just let me know when you're ready, and I can move forward.
Okay. Yeah, too easy.
And maybe while we're waiting, since I've been through this and kind of, it's like, why would you even need to do this, right? I mean, with pip, basically that's just a tool to install these little modules, these little bits and pieces of Python. And really there's 3 levels to install it. There's at the global level, right, on your whole system. It affects all users. Or you can just say, install it as, at the user level just for me. But then it affects all your projects. And so the reason why you do it like this is that you get this little subdirectory, and it actually puts a version of Python, like the actual executable and everything it needs, almost like a container. It throws it into this little subdirectory, and when you activate it, this little activation script. It modifies all your search paths so that you use that specific version of Python that's right just for this project, and all the modules that are required just for this project, which are going to be different than all the crap needed for some other project. It keeps everything straight.
Yeah. And
just in case nobody knew about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, if you want to ever use if you had a different versions of Python you're working with, and you let's say the project you're working on is Python 3.9, and you default have Python 3.10, you could just run a virtual env / Python, and then the path of the binary for like 3.9, for example, Python 3.9, and then you put in the folder that will set up a Python 3.9 environment, even though your default is Python 3.10. So, food for thought. If you want to know which Python you have installed, just do a Python -V, and you see I have 3.10 installed. But yeah, I'll move along. So after you have that installed, you'll want to do a pip install pre-commit. And when you run that, I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run it. That will install the pre-commit tool into the system.
Wait, how'd you go into the? You activate it?
Are you on Windows or Linux or
Windows? Yeah.
Just run. You're just going to do go into the directory VNB scripts, and then activate.ps1. And that will activate. I'll post this in the channel too. And then you're in the environment is on the left hand side if it says the name of your environment. If you deactivate, you'll leave your environment and you won't have that anymore. And then if you want to activate it, you just run that command and it will activate the environment.
Okay. I'm in now.
Okay, so once you do that, you can check which version, or check that it's installed properly by running the pre-commit -- version command. And you can see we have 3.0.4 installed. And then the next thing you need to do is you actually got to create a pre-commit YAML file. So I actually have one created. I'm going to rename this just temporarily to -old. And to create, what you need to do is you do need to create a file with the name .pre-commit-config.yaml. And what you'll do is that'll create an empty file. And if you want to generate sample configuration, you can do. You can back on the terminal. You can run this pre-commit space sample config, and hit enter, and it will give you some text that you can copy. And you can just copy this and paste it into your .precommit-config YAML file. And what this will do. This is pretty much the. This is saying what the pre-commit's going to do. So for this example, it is going to, the hooks that it's going to use is a hook that's going to fix trailing white spaces, a hook that's going to fix the end of the file, which is usually going to add an additional new line to the end of the file. It's going to check that the YAML is formatted correctly if it's a YAML file that's being committed, and it will check added large files. I'm not sure what this does. We can just ignore it. So I'm just going to remove that. So this is just an example what the example file could look like. Once you have that set up to actually have this bake in this file into your into the Git configuration, you can run this command pre-commit space install. And what this will do is install the configuration into this hidden directory, Git. It's .git/hooks/precommit. And if you go here, you can see what's actually in here. And what this will do is just tell it to use look at this file, the pre-commit config YAML, for direction, pretty much. So now that we have this installed, I'll give you guys some examples. So I have this YAML file, and I just have a bunch of just dumb shenanigans in it. Let's say I am going to just mess up the file if possible. Let's see if I can just add in some stuff that will kind of make it kind of confused a bit and give it some improper YAML. And I'm going to hit save. One of the checks that we saw was a check YAML commit. So if I go over here to my test.yaml, the one I just played around with, and I go to stage it. I'm just using the VS Code GUI for this. I'm going to stage it, which is like doing an add in the GitHub or the Git command line. I'll just put in a note updated, just not very descriptive. It works for this case. And I'm going to hit commit. We should see this choke. Oh, actually, I think this file needs to be committed to the recent changes to your pre-commit hook. So if I hit commit,
so hang on a second. What's the structure of how all these files are laid out?
it's just this is the only file you have to worry about. Is
This is the commit. Yeah, that's the commit view or whatever. So like the directory structure view.
this is the commit view. Yeah.
So yeah, I know, but go back. So you have to create this .precommit config YAML file from that sample output. Is that it?
Yeah.
And that lives in the root of the project directory under
Correct.
test.
Yeah.
But then there's another file which lives under the git or the .git subdirectory.
That doesn't. That
got created by the pre-commit install.
Yeah, but it's nothing that we have to worry for this. This doesn't have to be committed. So,
and then
yeah,
where does the test1.yaml go? Just in your project directory, I guess, right?
Yeah, the test YAML. Yeah, this could be anything. Any file that you're going to create, that's going to be a YAML file for this example.
Okay, and then you basically created a YAML file with some invalid contents, and that's what this pre-commit hook stuff is supposed to catch?
Correct.
Okay. Did you post that into the chat channel or something?
I didn't. No, I'm just giving an example here.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I am going to make sure these are staged, and then I'm going to hit commit. And this should, if it works properly, let's see. If we go to git log, we can actually see what it's choking on. So we'll see right here. So when I try to commit it, it yelled at me saying that there was a problem. And you can go to your Git, if you go to your Git log, which you click on the button that pops up, you scroll up and you'll see this text here. And this will show you the different tests that it's checking. So if we go back to the pre-commit config file, we'll see we have the trailing white spaces, end of file fixer, and the check YAML. And we can see right here that the check YAML is failing. And it's stating that on line 3, column 17, there's a problem. It says mapping values are not allowed in this context. So it gives you a little bit of insight what the issue is. Another thing you could do is if you want to kind of check your files against your pre-commit hooks before actually committing, you can actually run the following: this pre-commit space run space -- all files, and this will give you this will run against all the files and tell you if there's issues with it. So this is another way you can check things before committing. So you can see we have an error here.
Could you do me a favor and just like copy paste that test1.yaml as you have it into the meetup text chat?
Sure. Does anybody have any questions, or they're stuck right now? Or does this absolutely make no sense at all? Just I want to see where everybody's at.
Do you get in while you're in the virtual environment or before?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, this doesn't need to be
Okay.
active Git repo. So run a Git in it if it's not one already. So yeah, if we go back and we fix this file and if we go back to test.yaml and let's just kind of fix this so it's not messed up. And let's just say this was what we were going to go with. We could run this, the pre-commit run all files command, and check. And we can ignore this one for now. We go back up here and we stage this test.yaml, and then we go to commit. This should pass, which it just did. We actually just committed the change, and we can see up here in our commits that test.yaml was updated. So this did pass as valid. If we go back to the output in VS Code and we scroll up, we should see that all 3 checks passed. So this just gives you like a basic understanding of what the pre-commits are and how they work. But let's take it to the next level in regards to on the security topic. So let me open up some notes real quick. 1 second. While I do this, anybody have any questions they want to ask Warelock?
So I created the .pre-commit .pre-commit-config.yaml file in the root of my project directory, and I'm trying to stage it and commit it, and I don't know. It says it can't find the file, but I did save it.
Did you run that?
Right.
Did you run the install command, the pre-commit install?
Yeah, I did. It says pre-commit installed at .git hooks pre-commit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, I just created this text file, I saved it, and I'm like, okay, man, commit it, and it won't. It says it can't find the file for some reason, and I could have sworn to save it, you just, what is it, Control S or something?
Yeah, you just save it. It should show up under changes. You can just do it. You can just use git add and just add it manually that way if you want to.
Isn't there just like a plus sign? You stage, unstage?
Yeah.
Under the, yeah.
Yeah, you might have to refresh. Maybe want to try to close and reopen VS Code. Sometimes there's issues with the Git plugin.
It says that it's untracked. There's like a purple exclamation point to the left of it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what I need to do with it.
Yeah, I don't. Is anybody else? Anybody else familiar with this issue?
It's got a U.
If you want to like continue on, and just you can DM it to me. I'll try to look into it, man.
Yeah, let's do that because this is. By the way, too, I totally forgot to mention this. We are recording this, and this will be on YouTube. So, just a heads up. I try to bring that up beforehand, but just kind of know going into this that we will be recording. We were recording all these talks for now on, unless we specifically mention beforehand. So yeah, this will be recorded and it'll be uploaded. So if anybody has any issues, they can go back and rewatch it. And then also too, all these notes that I'm doing, these are straight out of that precommit.com website that I posted. So, but yeah, I'm gonna move along, and then I can help anybody after if they get stuck anywhere. Okay, so moving on. This is kind of how to use pre-commit hooks, and it's great for automatically formatting my text or my file. Another popular tool that's out there is Black, which is a very common linting tool. You can install it via pip install Black like this, And if we go to the pre-commit website, so if I open up the pre-commit website, I go up here to the top to the supported hooks, and these are all the hooks that are supported out of the box. And if we come in here and we do a search for black, let's see, where is it at? Black right here. So you can see black is a Python code formatter, and a lot of these repos that will be linked in here will actually have the pre-commit hook information for the config file. So if we come in here and look up pre-commit, and we'll scroll down. Sometimes these aren't the correct ones. Let me see if I can find the right one to show. It could be sometimes in the docs. So let me find the docs real quick. So if we go to the docs and we look up pre-commit, and right here, this is what we want. So this is the settings, the pre-commit settings for the black tool. So I'm going to copy this right here, and I am going to go back over to VS Code to our config file, and I'm gonna paste this in right underneath the existing pre-commits. And what we'll do is we'll change this to Python 10 because that's the language that we're using. And then what we'll do is that should be already ready to set up to work. And we do have black installed via pip install black, which is down here. So if we go over to this Python file, for example, and we just screw up the formatting. So let's just make this list all messy, for example, and we I don't know, just start making things look kind of out of place, which actually that may or may not be considered out of place, but we just do this. This is still technically proper syntax, but what we can do is we can save this. We can go and commit this change, and also make sure you do commit your pre-commit config file as well. And we're going to just say using black linter for the example for this commit message. We go to commit. We'll let this run, and it looks like there's an error, so I'm kind of winging this one. Let's see. There's an error here. There's a Unicode string. What's going on here? Oh, you know what? Let's see. Let me just fix it. I don't know why this YAML is kind of all messed up. Let's try this. Let me try doing this again. Okay, so if this works, it should update the Python file and fix the structure of it, and then it will ask us to recommit it because it made a change. So if we got an error, and if we go and scroll down to the message, we'll see that there's some white space that was in here that was introduced. In the file, there was no space at the end of the file, and that black failed, and it says black modified this file, and you can see all the changes did get updated. So all those things that went in here and kind of messed it up have been readjusted. And so what you'll have to do is you'll have to come over and now recommit that file because it's been changed by black. And I'll now go commit it, and it should pass the linting. So which it looks like it just did. So if we scroll down, we should see that all the checks have passed now, which they did. So, but yeah, so that's just an example of another tool we could use. But kind of keeping to the nature to this talk is security tools. So, anybody have any questions, Sue, before I jump into the next one? No. All right, cool. So So security scanning tools. So, we're working on code and, we want to help ensure that our code is more secure. There's lots of tools that are out there that are free and open source that can help find potential security vulnerabilities in the code. We, as much as we try to make secure code, there's always chances where we may fail at, those changes, and that might lead to arbitrary code injection and certain things, which is very common. So the first tool I'll talk about is a tool called Bandit, and I'll share a link to the docs for that. So Bandit is let me pull up the page real quick. So this is Bandit. And if actually we go to pull up the GitHub for it. So Bandit is an open source tool. As it says, it's a security linter. And what it'll do is it'll actually scan through your code and look for any security vulnerabilities that are in your code that it can find. That it can check from its database. It's pretty configurable. You can plug this into like a CI/CD pipeline where it could scan, after it's been committed and goes through a pipeline, or it could be set up as a pre-commit hook as well. So it's pretty flexible. And I do have some examples of it. So first thing you got to do is to install it. And it's just a pip install bandit. So if we just do pip install bandit, hit enter, it will install it. I already have it installed. But once you have it installed, let me find my notes real quick. You can run bandit manually against your code, and then I'll show you how to set it up as a pre-commit hook. So I have an example of some insecure, some potential SQL injection vulnerability where let's run this against this and see what it says. So we do a bandit -r, and then we run it against this insecure code SQL injection file. We'll get back results right here stating, where is it at? Stating that possible hard-coded password. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that's not what it was. Why is it saying hard-coded password? Oh, okay. I thought I fixed this. So this example, which was showing me a different result earlier, so I don't know why it changed, is saying that there's a possibility that a hard-coded password could be saved in here. What it's supposed to show, which that's true if you did have a password in here, but what it's supposed to show is that there's a possible SQL injection vulnerability, which I don't know what happened because that was working earlier. Let's see if I can get this thing to.
So.
Oh, here we go. I don't know how I missed it. So right here, possible SQL injection vector through string-based query construction, and it's pointing it out what the issue is here. What it pretty much means is that the way this is written, people can do arbitrary like code injection or SQL injection by changing putting in like malicious SQL into the username or the password fields because they're not sanitized correctly. Sorry, did somebody have a question? No? I thought I heard somebody say something.
Yeah, somebody did. But hey, real
what's up?
quick, I have a question. So I'm looking at this, and this is just yet another way to me that developers find bugs in their code, yeah? Like that kind of thing, top 10 OWASP.
Correct.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I haven't looked at what the rule set is that they have that's built in. I know if you go to, it does, like this example, it shows you was this the CWE? This is the I think this is the acronym for this is like the web exploit database, I believe. So it gives you that from MITRE. so you can come in here and look at this issue and give some background about it, about possible SQL injection attacks that could be done on this. It also has a write-up on their webpage as well too about the issue that goes into that. And this actually, going back to that, this list right here is a list of a lot of the different things it looks for. So you can kind of get some ideas, and I think the list is a little bit longer than this. But these are some examples. So yeah, that's a pretty cool tool. Another example is this arbitrary code injection that's through the eval tool. The eval tool it will evaluate strings to look at if it's a dictionary or if it's different types of classes of variables. And it can if it's I'll give you an example. Actually, let me run through an example right now. Load up Notepad or load up Jupyter Notebook real quick. Pretty cool tool if anybody plays around with Python. If you do this pound %% and hit enter or hit Control Enter, it will open up it'll install Jupyter Notebooks, and you can test code in like a cell-based format. I use this like on a day-to-day basis. It's really cool for like prototyping. And you can save this as in a notebook format, but that's like a whole other topic. I think I might have covered it like last year. But to give you an example of this, if I run the calculate and I give this a dictionary, let's just say, that's not really a good example. Let's say test is the key and value is the value, but I make this into a string. Oh my goodness, hold on. So if I made this is now a string. It's a dictionary. It's actually a string. The eval tool actually convert this string into an actual dictionary. That's what eval does. So if I go and if I did a return on this, just give you guys some examples. If I did a return on this and I did a print type, you'll see that this string becomes a dictionary. So that's what eval does. It tries to use some logic to try to like figure out what and convert that into what it thinks it is, but it could be exploited. So let me go and revert this code real quick. If we go and use this natively like it is, and we run bandit against it. So this is the arbitrary code injection. It will give us use of possibly insecure function. Consider using this AST literal eval tool, and this is like a more secure way to do eval of expressions because they can be compromised or it can be exploited. I'm not super familiar with this attack. I've looked a little bit into it, but you can get some information from the website. So this is just some examples of what Bandit can do. I have a couple other tools. So before I go into the next one, does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, actually, just skipping back a little bit to the pre-commit initial setup where you had it giving you that error.
Yeah.
Mapping values not allowed. I got that part now. The problem is I put that dot file in a subdirectory, not the root directory of the project. So I fixed that, and it seems to be giving me the error, but I don't know how to fix that. Did you fix that test1.yaml file? Get rid of that mapping problem to pass the pre-commit hook?
Yeah. It won't fix it. It'll just alert you on it.
Okay. Like I don't know enough about this to fix it, to get it past this.
Just
error.
give it some sort of valid YAML. So as long as the YAML that you give it is valid, then it will pass. So you can just give it some simple YAML.
But do I delete that line with the hello? Is that, I think that's line number 3 that it's complaining about.
Yeah, I'll just paste in what I ended up doing.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah. But yeah, as long as it's valid YAML, it will pass. If it's not in any way, then it'll scream and yell. All right, so the next tool I'll go into is a tool called Safety. I just posted a link on there, and what Safety will do, and let me pull this up real quick. So this is Safety. It's free. I don't know if it's open source. I think it is. Let me see. I believe it is. It's free for personal use, and it's like licensed they have like a paid version for commercial use. Here it is right here. I believe it's open source. Yeah, so Safety. So what this tool does is it will check Python dependencies, aka like libraries that are installed. So for example, we've installed Bandit and Black, and let's say we install Bodo 3 for like if we're going to do any AWS work. And what it'll do is it'll check those packages to see if there's any known vulnerabilities that are in those packages, and it'll alert on that. So all we have to do is do a pip install safety, and let me just triple check. I believe that was the right thing. Yeah, pip install safety, and from there to actually check our packages to see if we have anything vulnerable, we run the command safety check. And right now we did get error, vulnerability found. And I'll admit this version of Python that I have installed is, I think, a little bit behind, which is why I'm saying this, because I didn't install any malicious or unsafe packages. But since this version of Python that I'm using for this example is a little out of date, there was a vulnerability that was patched in this setup.tool package that's like built into native Python, and it's letting me know that there's a CV out for it. It could allow remote attackers to cause denial of service via HTML. So yeah, this is exactly what it does. It looks for packages and it'll alert you on if there are ones that are found that are to be vulnerable. Anybody have any questions about that at all?
Does that also check for like packages that might have accidentally been uploaded, like username, passwords, or AWS credentials?
That I'll go into that one next. That's my next one. But no, this is just packages that have vulnerabilities in it.
For Python.
Yeah, for Python, yeah. I believe this is Python only. There is another tool I was going to go over, but it's a little bit more complicated, but there's a tool called Sneak that you can install that has they have a free version for like open source users that can do the same thing. By default, it can check for packages that are vulnerable. Surprisingly, it's not alerting on. I have the Sneak plugin installed, and it's not alerting on vulnerable packages, but if there was one that was vulnerable, it should alert on it. So it's SNYK. So I'm not going to go over too much of it today, but it's another tool that can be used for security. It does code analysis for malicious code. Though it didn't detect my insecure SQL injection code or my arbitrary code injection. Yeah, just wanted to share out these other ones. And Sneak is like a proprietary closed source solution out there. But speaking of credentials, which I think this was one of the most common issues I've seen where people accidentally upload keys to like GitHub, like publicly. And there's a tool that I'll show off. It's called Trufflehog. Let me get the it's an open source tool. It's right here, Truffle Hog, and I'll post this into the channel. And what this does is it gets installed. It's a binary you have to install. I believe you can brew install it, or you can compile it yourself from their website, or you can download it from their release section on their website. And you just gotta install it in your path or run it from the path that you dropped it in. And what it could do is it can scan local files, which is what I'm going to show off today. But it can also look for possible credentials. When I say credentials, it's username, passwords, API keys, things like that. It could check GitHub, GitLab, S3 buckets, apparently Circle CI. It's got 700 credential detectors built into it. I'm just reading from the website. Could look for private keys. So yeah, and there's different install methods. I'm using the binary that I compiled, and I just put it in one of my path directories. So if I have that installed, if I just run trufflehog, trufflehog.exe, it's already on my system. And how to use it, if I want to scan, the directory that I'm in right now, I could just give it, trufflehog, and then the directory. So this example, I'm going to give it the directory that I want to test. And then one thing I'm going to do, so if I run this right here, this will actually go through my directory. Oops. Oh, what am I missing here? I got -- directory. So if I do -- directory and then the directory I want to scan, what am I doing here? Unknown. Did I spell it wrong? Sorry. Can't read my own notes. So it's trufflehog, then file system, then -- directory, and then the directory you want to scan. So my apologies. So this is gonna be the directory I'm gonna scan, this happens to be my GitHub directory. I believe it may take a dot as well for this current directory. Let's try it out. Oh yeah, it will. Okay. Wait. Yeah, these are all these example ones. Okay, yeah. So these are some dummy API keys and stuff I put in here. So the only problem though is it will scan everything that's in your directory, which also includes the virtual environment folder. And there is apparently some things it thinks are credentials in there. So you can add a -- exclude paths. So you can do -- exclude paths, and then I think you can probably do VNV. Let's try to see if that works. Yeah. Oh no, it didn't work. Hold on. We'll do that. No, okay, hold on. I'll just put the whole path in here. All right, this should just only scan what I want to scan for. Wow, it's still scanning the VNV directory. Oh, you know what? Oh, man, this is directory exclude paths. What am I missing here? Okay, I don't know why it's being weird, but let me just put the whole path in here. It's still I don't know why it's still searching. It should only scan. Okay, well, just forget about it. Just ignore that it's scanning my the virtual environments. So I have this file right here. This file is called api-leak-key.py, and I apparently have some keys in it. So if I go to that file, api-key-leak.py, you'll see I have a test dummy API key for GitHub in here, and I have some AWS IAM credentials in here too. And note that these aren't active. These are just dummy things. But yeah, so TroubleHog did alert on those, and they say which file that they're in, and it says that they one of them is a GitHub key, one of them is a AWS key. It's interesting that it detects the access key ID, but it doesn't say anything about the secret access key. But yeah, so this is kind of what you want. You can have this thing scan your whole system if you want. Like I said, you can have it scan repos. You can scan S3 buckets. So it's pretty powerful. And all these tools that I talked about today too, they all have these additional configurations that can be applied where you can give it way more finite control to what you want. Read the manual on those. But kind of going back to the whole pre-commit hook thing, these actually, all the ones I showed today do support pre-commit hooks. So if I go and I delete this file and I bring back my original pre-commit config file, I have Bandit in here. I have TruffleHog in here. I don't have safety in here. I can add safety. So if we go... So we go to Python safety. Let me open up the documentation that they have, and I can find pre-commit. Let's see. Where's my pre-commit hook? I was hoping it would show me. All right, I think there is. If we go to pre-commit hooks on the website, I'm gonna look up safety, dependency check right here. It should be, oh, here it is right here. So you can, I'll pick this one right here, and I'll kind of give you an example. I'm winging this one because I haven't played around with this one. So I added the safety one. Oh wait, was safety already in here? Oh wow, am I blind? Okay, safety was snuck in here. Okay, so this file, the way it's written is really barbaric. Let me run black against it. Pre-commit hook. Failed to optimize. Can't. Okay. Okay, that's a little bit better. So we do. Sorry, we do have safety. We have Bandit. We do have TruffleHog. And I'll copy. Well, actually, let me make sure this runs before I go and share this with you guys. I'm gonna run this pre-commit run all files command. Okay, so I will share this with you guys. So if you guys want to use this as your pre-commit config file, so we have the things we showed up earlier, the check for trailing white spaces, end file fixer, check YAML. This one I didn't know what it does. I'll just get rid of that. And then we have TruffleHog, we have Bandit, and then we have safety. So these are all installed. So now if I run the command pre-commit run -- all files, it will actually scan through everything. It will show that TruffleHog did fail because it did find, oh, hold on, why is this running in bash? Let's see if that fixes the issue. Okay. Let me grab that. Let me check their website real quick and make sure I get the right one. Let's see. Windows. I think I must have tested this on Linux and not Windows. All right, here we go. I think this might be better. Oh, maybe not. Okay, apparently I only have they only have the configs that they want to at least show me that are for Linux. So I'm not sure why that doesn't work. So I think for this demo, I might just comment this out, the truffle hog one. It should work, but I need to diagnose that maybe later. So if we forget that one for right now, we can at least have the we can have it check bandit, and we'll see that bandit did find some of the issues. So the AST lateral eval, possible hard-coded password, which is funny because that's actually just a blank password. Possible SQL injection, which we went over earlier. And then safety had no files to check. I think it's mostly because safety is looking for dependencies. So if we did go back here, let's say we went and we staged all these, and I was going to commit these. So updated changes, and I run this. We should this should fail out. And when we go back to the logs here, we'll see that it failed on Bandit, and this won't pass unless we do fix the issues. So what you could do is there's a way to get around this where you can add in the comment. Let's say you said this is fine. I'm going to go with this vulnerability. I'm going to put in the word no sec, I believe. And I'm going to add it to here as well. No sec, I believe. And what this will do is it'll tell Bandit not to scan this particular line of code. So if I go back and I go and I make sure all these are committed. Let's see. Oh, possible hard-coded password. Oh, so we'd actually add these all back to all these files. So I'm just going to add a no sec to these. Not recommended, but just showing it as an example. And then I got to add it to here too because it thinks there's a password here. Okay, if I go back here and I go and commit these changes again. Okay, it passed. So the commit, there was nothing that it didn't complain about anything, and it actually did commit the change. The change has been committed. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the main things I wanted to show in regards to those. I can go into some of the AI stuff for coding if anybody's interested, since we got some time. Anybody have any questions? I lost you, Jesse. What was that? What about you, Margo? You have any questions?
No, actually, this is really cool, man. I never knew this was a thing you do.
Yeah.
I feel like this could help a lot with CTFs to help that make you look for exploits within the code.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I wish I had a good example for Snake, because Snake's supposed to do very similar, where it checks your code for vulnerabilities. It did find the hard coded credentials, but it's also supposed to find packages that are that are vulnerable, and other code flaws. Is your mic still broken, Jesse?
I think I fixed it. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the question I was gonna try to say is, okay, so if we backtrack a little bit, you talked about Truffle Hog and potentially it working better on Linux. By any chance, do you have like a Linux available to try it?
No, not right now. I don't. Just because I'd have to like just reboot my whole system. But it would work fine on Linux or on Windows. I think it's just what happens is in this, the settings here. Actually, let's just see if we can file system. If we run a dash, what was the command we ran earlier? Directory. Directory. Right. If we do that, I'm curious if it would actually work. Let's see. And let's just I'm just gonna make a change to this file. So it should pop up here. There it goes. Let's see if this works. So Truffle Hog. Oh, unknown error. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's something to do with my pre-commit issue here. If I go, let me try doing one more change. So if I do commit, go back here, unexpected. Yeah, I have to probably RTFM because I'm missing something in here. But yeah, this is, and also there's a way to run this in Docker as well too. But theoretically, if I did have this working, it would yell at the credentials are in there and completely stop you from committing.
Okay, and for us novice VS Code people, could you explain how you commented all those lines all at once? That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, so if you select group of text, and it could be either one line or it could be a group of text, and you hit Control / the question mark / button, it will add in comments.
So Control / and then whatever button you want to make in front there, like pound, or it just does.
It just does it automatically.
Oh, okay.
So you can do one line. So if I'm on this line, and if I do that, it will comment out this line. Or if it'll do multiple if you want to do that, and it's programming language aware. So if this was C, it would do, I believe, the / for the commenting.
Is there a way to do a block comment?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I think so. It just depends on the language. So. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get Truffle Hog to work either.
Okay.
In general, it was working before I when I had the sample config, it worked. In fact, it was really pretty finicky. I had to do like a git _trace = 1 on the command line just to kind of see what it was complaining about, and it was constantly complaining about uncommitted or unstaged files. I had to do a git add dot, and then it would stage them, and then it would work.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just weird. But anyways, when I souped up the config file with the extended one that your pre-commit thing.
Yeah.
It seems like I had to basically do pre-commit uninstall first, then modify the file, then push it, and then redo the pre-commit install, because modifying that file while that was running, it was kind of stepping on itself.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but once I figured out how to do that and get around it and shove it in there and get it working, then it complained about everything that I specified in there that wasn't added, like safety and all this other stuff. So I had to add all those in. And now that I have truffle hog in, it's got this error, like where you try to commit and it says show me the error, and or show me the command line, and it shows you the command line, shows the output, and that's the thing you would normally look at for the legit error that it might have detected. Okay, right? Like that problem with the YAML. But in this case, it's choking. The truffle hog thing is choking, and I think it has to do with the config file, the way you wrote it for truffle hog.
Okay. Yeah. I know it's definitely broken. So I'll get back to you guys on this. I'll figure it out and I'll post what the correct one is for this to work. I thought I tested this, but somehow this like fell through my radar. So my apologies. Is anybody interested in checking out some AI tools for programming real quick? I got two I can demo real quick.
Yes.
Yeah,
I threw that. By the way, I threw that error out into the meetup text.
Okay, perfect.
So you can
As long as it's not ChatGPT.
No, so these aren't ChatGPT. So yeah, I'll show the least. I'll show the tool I use the most and the one and the one that I've been playing around with recently. So the tool I use the most is this tool called Sorcery. If we go and look at Sorcery, so it's Sorcery as in like source code. So if you look up sorcery.ai, this tool, I believe, I don't know which languages it works for. I believe it works for more than just Python, but I use it for Python. And what it does is it suggests to you ways to write better code. So, and I have learned a lot from using it. Like I now go out of my way for those that are familiar with Python, there's ways to write code in a Pythonic form where it's just more, your code is written more to the Python standards, or what they call the PEP standards. And those examples could be like list comprehensions, just ways to write like how to like loop through lists and create lists and things like that. This is from their website, and I'll post a link to it, sorcery.ai. They help you write cleaner code, which they definitely do. They fix issues. They look for code quality issues. And this site kind of gives you like a little before and after kind of examples. So check out the website; it's pretty cool. But I'll show you it in action. It works with VS Code, and it works with PyCharm and other editors. And they do have a free tier, which is I think pretty comparable. There's a paid tier, which is like $12 a month, but I haven't had much of a need for it. But what it does is it suggests ways to optimize your code to work better, to look nicer, to be more Pythonic. So this is an example of me looping through a list. So I have this list right here, and I have a new list defined right here. And I say for my test and my tests, which is the name of this list, if my test is greater than 2, then append it to this new list. But what Sorcery, just right here in the IDE, recommends is I convert this to a list comprehension, which will take these 4 lines and make it all into one line, which is just a cleaner way to write your code. And the cool thing about it is you can just say quick fix and convert list into loop into list comprehension. And right then and there, it's made that change for you. And the functionality will be the same. And it could be multiple. It's pretty smart where it could be multiple lines of code it'll suggest, and it can make those changes without breaking anything. I think I have some more examples. So this example right here is to use f strings. So for those that are familiar with Python, especially I think Python 3. It was like 8, I believe, introduced f strings, which allowed you to get away from the syntax of having to close out your strings and add plus, and then your variables and plus, and then your quotes and all that stuff. You can actually embed if you define an F at the beginning of your string, you can actually embed the variables within the strings as long as you have curly brackets around them. So it's suggesting that using F strings is the proper way to do it. And they also typically provide like reasons to it. So if you click on the text or the link, it'll explain to you why, and it'll actually mention the PEP standard. So, if this is PEP standards is written by like the board of Python guys. I think it's Guido Van Rossen, I believe is his last name. They write the standards of how Python should look in their eyes. So if you want to follow that format that they recommend, that's what they'll suggest. So if I go here and I accept this change, it will correct that. For this example right here, it says use name expression to simplify assignments and conditions. So what it'll do is it'll show you, it will remove this, where I assign this variable to cursor.fetch1, and then I do this if statement, where I can change it, and instead of having to do this extra line of code, I can embed it all into one, which is results : equals the function name, which is smart. And if you see this real world examples feature, this is something I'm playing around with. This is actually GitHub Copilot, which I'll go over next. But this is everything else I'm showing you right now is all sorcery. So I'm gonna do quick fix to this, and that will fix the issue. So anytime you go through your code and you see those little squiggly lines underneath it, it's usually, oh, it didn't fix it, did it? I don't know, I must have not hit something. Yeah, it will usually, anytime you see those little squiggly lines under there, it will recommend the fix for you. And yeah, like I said, I think it supports more than just Python, but it may just be Python specific. So that's sorcery, pretty cool tool. I wish I had more examples of it. It is free. It's it's not open source, but it is free. And there is an extension for it in PyCharm. If you look up sorcery. The other tool I just started using, just for this demo, is GitHub Copilot. And I haven't used. I started using it yesterday, so I can kind of share for those that are kind of interested about what it could do. For one, they do have a free, I think, 60-day trial. If you do have an active student email address, that's like they can verify. It's free for you, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, it's $10 a month. And in the this is Microsoft bought GitHub, I think the year before last, and one of the projects they spun out was that collaboration with OpenAI, and they made GitHub Copilot, which uses GPT-3, which is what ChatGPT currently uses, but they have it tuned for coding. So I can kind of give you an example from like what I played around with it in this short time for those that are interested. So if you see these things that pop up like create class, this is actually this is Copilot trying to try to guess what I want to do. You can turn it off with this little button down here. It's deactivate Copilot. But I'm gonna leave it on. So let's say I want to create a list. I could just do new or my list, and then start typing a list, and it will actually recommend filling out things. I can actually hit tab and it'll fill it out for me. But let's say I wanted to have names like Joe, John, Jane. So it's automatically trying to guess what I want, and if you hit tab, it'll automatically complete for you. So it gives you different examples, which these are cool. Some of these are useful. Some of these are kind of annoying, but you can actually come in here and give an example. So, here's a good example. Create a new list with the first letter of each name capitalized. Okay. But you can change this. This is just a suggestion. You can say, create a new list with the last character of each string capitalized. Okay. and then you hit enter, and now it's going and it's going to start suggesting code for you. So what it just suggested. So let me actually, I'm gonna convert this into a notebook real quick. You can, oh, well, this is not a good example because it gave me, yeah, I'm still kind of learning like how it works. Yeah, you do have to give it. So it's kind of like ChatGPT where you have to you give it an explanation and it will kind of try to guess what it will do. And I'm like, I barely played around with it, but create me a for loop that prints out the last character of each string. So I'm just gonna kind of go with what it's gonna say and play around and see what it does. So if I hit enter, so this will a loop that prints out the last character of each string. Oh, okay. So it actually took this list, so that's why it was like that. So last character of each string capitalized. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So yeah. So this kind of some examples of what it could do. I'm still playing around with it. Has anybody here played with it at all? I'm just curious.
I've known about it, but I haven't actually used it myself.
Yeah, I think I posted some. I think in the CyberSec news or somewhere recently, where Microsoft states supposedly that 46% of developers right now are using GitHub Copilot and like it, which is kind of like a far-fetched number, I think, but it's interesting. I did see there are several big name Linux kernel developers and other legendary programmers that are admitting that they're using Copilot on a day-to-day basis and they like it. So it's pretty interesting. I haven't used it in my day-to-day programming, but it's something I want to dabble with in the future. AWS has another competitor which I haven't been able to get set up yet called AWS Code Whisperers, and it's actually free. It's in preview right now, and it's supposed to be very similar to Copilot. So I mean, one thing that I'm interested in it is that it could create your own. It could help you create your own unit tests, which anybody that does programming and writes unit tests can be a big pain in the butt. So I'm very interested to seeing how that could assist workflow. But yeah. Yeah, that's it for me. Just kind of wanted to share that. Anybody have any questions or want me to try to see if I can get the bot to do anything? All right. Well, that's pretty much it for me.
Check this out for myself. This looks awesome.
Yeah, give it a shot. Especially if you have a student, ID or email, might as well give it a shot. It's free. Just note that anything that you give to it, just assume that whatever data you give, these AI bots can, technically, read your code. So you try to use it only on open source projects.
I posted an article in the meetup text, so when you're done, you guys might want to take a look at that.
Cool. Thanks.